Today is Monday, August 26th. We're talking about where Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump are taking their campaigns with just a couple of months left in the presidential race. Also, Hawaii is preparing for its second hurricane in less than a week, while other Americans are actually cleaning up snow in August. Plus, the reason for a widespread apple juice recall, how fast food restaurants are trying to lure back customers, and everything you need to know about the final Grand Slam tennis tournament of the year. Those stories and more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Now that both conventions have wrapped up, the 2024 presidential race is heading into its final stretch, and these last couple of months will be busy. Former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, plan to visit swing states this week like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, while Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz go on a bus tour of one battleground state, Georgia. Right now, the Harris campaign is the one with the momentum since the Democratic National Convention just ended. The vice president's team says she raised $82 million during the DNC. That brings her grand total to $540 million in the little more than a month since launching her race for president. And that's apparently the most ever for any presidential campaign in such a short time span. On the other side, Trump's campaign apparently raised nearly $139 million in July. Now, this disparity could change soon, though, since Trump did get a boost more recently. As expected, independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. suspended his own bid for the White House and decided to endorse Trump. Kennedy says he's spoken to the GOP nominee at length about forming a so-called unity government that will focus on ending the war in Ukraine, improving American children's health, ending what he sees as media censorship, and more. And on X, RFK Jr. wrote, quote, "This is only the beginning. Wait till you see the next editions." But the Democratic National Committee says it's not worried. To be continued. It was the heaviest fighting between Israel and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah since the war in Gaza began. Israeli warplanes bombed sites across southern Lebanon, and Hezbollah fired drones and rockets back across the border at Israel. Israeli officials say their part in all of this was meant to prevent a larger attack, and both sides say they only went after military targets, though there are different stories of exactly what happened. Around the region, this all raised fears of a major escalation. The fighting seems to have stopped short of another all-out war, but that doesn't mean it's totally resolved. Hezbollah actually first launched cross-border strikes back in October, just one day after Hamas attacked Israel. And both sides have been trading fire nearly every day since, as the larger war plays out in Gaza. Speaking of which, high-level talks were held in Egypt over the weekend, meant to bring about a ceasefire and hostage deal to end the war in Gaza. The U.S. says those talks were constructive, but that once again, they ended without a final agreement. Earlier this summer, we told you about a new path to citizenship meant to help more immigrants who entered the U.S. illegally and are now married to American citizens. Well, that program just began accepting applications last week. And now 16 Republican-led states are suing the Biden administration over this. They argue the program, quote, rewards illegal immigration, and that the Biden administration does not have the authority to move forward. On the other side, the White House says the program is just about keeping families together, that without this option, many would have to be separated for years before coming back together on U.S. soil. It was expected to help 500,000 immigrant spouses who have been in the U.S. for at least 10 years already, as well as 50,000 children of American citizens. The states suing believe the program would actually benefit about twice that many, adding more of a burden on their states. Either way, expect to see this one play out in court. The man who was America's top infectious disease doctor for decades is now dealing with his own serious health scare. Dr. Anthony Fauci had to go to the hospital with a case of West Nile virus. Fauci was hospitalized for 6 days, but he is now at home and is expected to make a full recovery. This is just one of hundreds of cases that have been reported around the U.S. this year. West Nile is primarily caused by mosquito bites. It causes a rash, fever, body aches, chills, and stomach problems. But about 1% of the time, it also affects the nervous system, and it can be fatal. There's no vaccine for West Nile virus and no specific medicines to treat it. So health experts just recommend protecting yourself by doing all the things you normally do to avoid mosquito bites. Hawaii is now picking up the pieces from Hurricane Hone. The storm passed the Big Island yesterday. Even though it was not a direct hit, it did bring heavy rains. Forecasters are thinking up to 20 inches in some areas. Hurricane Hone also brought high winds that toppled trees and power lines, leaving tens of thousands of customers without electricity. And even as it weakens, some strong winds, rain, and rip currents from Hone are expected to stick around today, too. Plus, Hawaiians are now keeping an eye on Hurricane Gilma. As of this morning, it's a Category 3 storm churning in the Pacific, and it's headed toward Hawaii. Though forecasters believe it will weaken to a tropical depression before hitting the state. Either way, it could be historic. 2 named storms haven't come within 300 miles of the main Hawaiian Islands in the course of a week since 1992. Stay tuned. More news is coming up, but first, I want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Ibata. The summertime barbecue season is not over yet, friends. We still have Labor Day weekend coming up, for example. So you can now stock up on all your grilling favorites and earn cash back on every purchase when you use Ibata. Ibata is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. In fact, the average Ibata user earns $256 per year. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much, but with Ibata, you can earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. Look, I'm never going to be someone who physically cuts out coupons, but with Ibata, it's fast and easy. Right now, Ibata is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibata by using the code Newsworthy when you register. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibata app to start earning cash back and use code Newsworthy. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code Newsworthy. Okay, now back to the news. For the first time in at least 20 years, snow fell in California during August. That's right, people saw snow over the weekend in the Sierra Nevada mountains near Lake Tahoe and Mammoth Mountain. Mostly, it was just a dusting, but Lassen Volcanic National Park, north of Tahoe, recorded 3 inches. The snow was part of a weather system that originated in Alaska. It brought cooler temperatures and a whole lot of rain to most areas it passed through, and at some elevations, conditions were right for snow. Temperatures returned to normal less than a day later. A real estate company is now being accused of an illegal scheme to drive up rents across the U.S. The U.S. Justice Department sued RealPage. The company's software uses AI to recommend price points to landlords looking to rent out their apartments. But the DOJ's lawsuit says the algorithm allows and even encourages landlords to set rents above market rates. Landlords input confidential information about pricing and potential tenants, and RealPage aggregates that data to suggest how much rent to charge. The suit says that effectively allows landlords to avoid competition that would otherwise keep rents down. RealPage is not the only company that offers this kind of tool to help property managers set prices, but the lawsuit says it is by far the biggest, making up 80% of the market. For its part, RealPage says its software complies with the law. It also says landlords are not obligated to accept their price recommendations and do so less than half of the time. 8 states have joined the federal government's lawsuit, including California. Apple juice sold at Walmart is now being recalled over high levels of arsenic. The recall covers Great Value brand apple juice sold in 6-packs of 8-ounce bottles. They all have a Best By date of December 28th of this year. Nearly 10,000 cases have been sold in 25 states, plus Puerto Rico and the District of Columbia. The FDA says the apple juice could cause temporary health effects. Ingesting even small amounts of arsenic can cause stomach virus-type symptoms. But if you did happen to drink some of this recalled juice, don't panic. The FDA says drinking it is unlikely to cause serious or lasting health effects, and no illnesses have been reported so far. A statue of the late Congressman and civil rights leader John Lewis was officially unveiled in Georgia over the weekend. It's in the Atlanta suburb of Decatur, in a spot that had been occupied by a Confederate monument for more than 100 years. A 30-foot obelisk with inscriptions celebrating the Confederacy was installed before World War I, but it was removed in 2020 after it became a focal point of protests over police brutality and racial injustice. The new statue is 12 feet tall and made of bronze, and it shows Congressman Lewis holding his hands crossed over his heart. Lewis represented the district where the statue now stands for more than 30 years. Before that, he was a civil rights activist. When he died in 2020, Lewis was one of the last living links to the movement that brought about historic legislation like the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. This is the last chance for the world's top tennis players to win a major title this year. The U.S. Open starts today in New York City. It's the 4th and final Grand Slam event on the tennis calendar. Defending champion American Coco Gauff kicks things off on the women's side, while Polish player Iga Świątek comes in as the #1 seed. On the men's side, controversy surrounds the start of the tournament. Just a few days ago, tennis officials said the world #1 Jannik Sinner was not at fault for 2 positive drug tests earlier this year, so he'll still get to compete at the U.S. Open. Several players, like defending U.S. Open champion Novak Djokovic, have called for more consistency in dealing with positive tests. Djokovic enters the tournament as the favorite, but the U.S. Open is known for its upsets and anything can happen. The tournament runs through September 8th. Thousands of tennis fans are expected to be there in person, but for those who can't make it, you can watch from home on ESPN. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, this episode is brought to you by Honeylove. These days, I not only want my clothes and essentials to be cute and stylish, I also need them to be comfortable. Whether it's working from home, running around with my son, going out with the girls, or attending a special event, I don't want to be tugging at my clothes, constantly adjusting. Thankfully, there's Honeylove. Honeylove has revolutionized everything from leggings and tanks to shapewear and bras. For example, I basically live in Honeylove's Legging 2.0. The fabric is super soft, stretchy, and breathable. The side pockets are the convenience I need. And the shaping panels give me the support and look that I want. And whenever I need to wear a dress to a special event, that old shapewear that rides up is not going to work. Instead, Honeylove has changed the game. Honeylove is not just supporting women, it's empowering women. Treat yourself to the best bras, leggings, and more on the market and save 20% at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/newsworthy to find your perfect fit. After your purchase, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Elevate your comfort, elevate your style with bras, leggings, shapewear, and more that empower your lifestyle of flexibility. Okay, now back to Money Monday. A rise in prices over the past few years has caused fast food chains to battle for customers looking for a cheap meal. Since the pandemic, food prices have gone up more than usual. In fact, fast food restaurants have raised prices so much that they're not that much cheaper than fast casual spots. The result? Fewer people are eating at fast food chains, which don't offer as much bang for your buck as they once did. Now, a host of new value meals and combo deals are starting to appear on menus in an effort to lure back price-conscious customers. So now fast food chains are offering all kinds of summer value meals. McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, KFC, Wendy's, and others have all recently unveiled new meal deals for about $5. And since rolling out bargains, some have reported seeing better business. Consumer researchers say the idea is these deals will draw in customers who are then more likely to spend money on other more expensive menu items. But whether or not it has a lasting effect on the bottom line remains to be seen. By the way, it's not just fast food restaurants. Some casual restaurant chains like Olive Garden, Chili's, and Red Robin announced new meal deals this month as well. And even more could be rolling out soon. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, we'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. So be sure to follow or subscribe to The Newsworthy in your favorite podcast app if you haven't already to stay in the know every weekday. For now, have a great day.